Well, good morning, everybody. It is July 18th, 2022. This is the Smart Networker, and we are resuming calls after I took a month off to do some recreational activities. Vacation time, wish list time, bucket list time, fabulous time. It was just a great time. I actually came back to my homeland. I went to where I grew up. I showed my wife the house that I grew up in and the neighborhood I played in, the schools I went to, and it was a lot of fun. And we went up to a place called Victoria Beach in Lake Winnipeg, and it was before the season was open, so thank goodness they allowed us to drive our cars in, because typically when the season's open you can't drive a car in. So walking or bike area. There's several hundred cottages there, and there's beaches, but man, it was about 40 years since I've been there. It was quite some time. And some things were the same, some things were different. Now, it was really interesting, but when we got out of the car, man, the mosquitoes, I forgot. They were this big. I swear to God, they were this big. And there were not just one or two, there were millions of them. And I was walking down the path, I had a black shirt on. My wife said, your entire back is covered in mosquitoes. I mean, like a pattern, it got back in the car, that was it. No more outside at the beach. I now understand why I left that area. But anyway, if you want an exciting journey, take the Rocky Mountaineer from Vancouver to Banff. It's a 5-star restaurant on a train with non-stop scenery. I mean, it's just an unbelievable experience. You met people from all over the world. It was really cool and very relaxing and very enjoyable. So, good time was had. Now, one of the reasons for this was a long time ago, I went to work. And I went to work with passion, with desire, and an objective in mind. And that's what caused it and gave me the ability to then do things now at a time when I can really enjoy them, and before I can't enjoy anything more. This go around. So, and of course, the reason why I started the Smart Networker was to get away from the theory, get away from the areas of useless information, and get into the truth and the practical information and the way it works. And it's really a fascinating aspect of that concept, because back in 1999, I was part of a group called Team Diamond. And Team Diamond was a great group. I loved the group. It was run by a couple of guys, Al Kiernan, Reed Nelson. They were above me in my organization. And together as a group, it started earlier than that, but together as a group, and this is a really important concept, together as a group, we unified and built the business together as a group, not as individuals. Now, this is fascinating. This is a really fascinating concept, because, for your own personal life, being individualistic is fine. But if you want to be a unique and distributor, you got to be part of the group, because it's the group that drives it. Individuals aren't driving this business. It's the group that's driving it. It's made up of individuals that are a part of the group that are doing what's important. But let's take a look at that for a moment and say, okay, you're a part of this group as a unique and distributor, but you're not making it work. You're not selling products. You're not sponsoring distributors. You're not making any money. Are you a part of that group? Really? Do you think you're a part of that group if you're not doing what the group's supposed to do? See, that's the key here. Was, what does the group stand for? And again, we're a small number of people compared to the 7-8 billion people on planet Earth. I mean, there's just a handful of us in that comparison. But as a result, if we don't stay together as a group, then it's going to be awfully difficult to move forward and make things happen, or make an impression, or try and change the conditions that need to be changed. And I think if we look at what's out there today, conditions need to be changed. I mean, man, I had to go to a convention over the weekend, and I was at an airport, and I never saw a more depressing place in my entire life than this airport of people in Southern California. I mean, I was just absolutely, oh my God, is it that bad? Well, it's really not, but it's bad, but it's, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, by the way. So anyway, so from the standpoint of, I was thinking about, okay, from the standpoint of Nikan, what we really have to look at is, this concept, because I think it's very important. So back then, we got together as a group, and we marched around the country and the world as a group, and we built Nikan. In the year 2000, that leader left, and there was a rift between he and Tom Watanabe, and they replaced Tom with another president, Kendall Cho, and he was an interesting character. Unfortunately, his ethics level was not very high, and he didn't last very long, and he didn't do very much, but changes were made. But here's what happened, so you can put this in perspective. The field broke away from being a group to individuals. And as a result of that, the group activity started to decline. And it's actually been declining ever since. And, you take a look at, what Luis, our newest president and CEO, has accomplished, especially in Mexico, was he put that group together following the group that we put together in the United States. And that group is still going strong, whereas we have to repair the group in the United States. And really what makes that work is the individual's contribution to the activities of the group and making it work. So, for example, if I go out there and make an extra couple of $1,000s a month, and then get on a Zoom or get on a call and say, hey, I did that, the group benefits, don't they? If somebody goes out there and finds a prospect that did really well on the water, and they share that story with the group benefits. So that's the idea of our contributions to the idea of what the group stands for, is what contributes to the success of the group, and we all get to utilize it. So as when other people, when I first got involved with the business, for example, and this is an important aspect, because obviously the highest aspect of involvement is purpose. And purpose is something that's very, very important. But we have a secondary aspect of this as a business. And the monitoring number of business is a thing called money or income. And if you spend more than you make, you go broke. And I have seen too many distributors that have gone broke and gone bankrupt as a result of not paying attention to their business, because they ended up spending more than they made, and they weren't attuned to that. Now, money's not the be-all or the end-all, but it sure helps. And, in the sense of, okay, so you have this thing called inflation going on right now. Now, for some, it's no big deal. It's absolutely no big deal. So the gas goes up, so the food goes up, so what? So they spend a few more dollars every month, because they've got it, or they've got the ability to create it. So it's just a matter of it's a logistical point, what income is. And what income really represents is your creative ability. It's your ability to make things work or do things right. Now, I have to say that my creative ability was really good in the 90s in that sense of generating huge amounts of revenue, which allowed me to live a really, super life. But that carried out over a long period of time, and that's been a huge benefit. Whereas some people right now are thinking about, well, God, they got to go back to work because their savings have been depleted or costs are going up or whatever. But don't worry, this year you get a nice boost in Social Security. It's going to jump up to a couple $100 a month. But anyway, different story. So from the viewpoint of going back to this economic thing, I saw somebody else's production, and that production and the reward for that production was like, OMG. Look at what that person did. Then, because they were part of the group, I decided that I wanted to join that group so that I could get the benefits that they got. Now, it probably took me 4 years to get those benefits that they got in 1 month or 2 months, but that didn't matter. That was not the point. You see, the point is that member of that group created a circumstance that I got to see that motivated the heck out of me. And, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So, from that perspective, when we look at, well, what makes this work? What's the key to this business? Well, obviously it's doing things. It's talking to people. I remember a story, and this is a huge story. And this is in Julie Tara's organization. And she met a guy in it was either Ireland or the UK by the name of Jack Black. And this is an absolutely amazing story, but he recruited in one event that he did some 250 or 500 executives in one event. Now, this is an unusual set of circumstance, but I got to experience that, and I remember dealing with him later in a mistake that he made, and so on and so forth, which became a very valuable lesson. But the bottom line was that who knew that this would happen, except for understanding how this business works. So if and again, there's all the videos on how this business works are on daverolf.com. There's nothing else that's required. You don't have to go to any guru. You don't have to go outside the box for anything. It's all there because it's so simple. I mean, this business is so simple. It's talk to other people. I mean, really, that's all it is. It's just talk to other people, find out what they need or want, and then beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So when the person sees what they want, then they get it. That's the way it works. It's the way everything works. When somebody sees what they want, they go get it. If they don't need it, they don't use it. And so for me in the beginning was what I needed that fuel to pay the bills, to take care of the responsibilities that I had. And so that's what caused me the most interest. Well, interestingly enough, that's the same as today. Hasn't changed a bit. Now, we got through a period of affluence where it seemed like making money was like falling off a turnip truck. It was a piece of cake. You could get on the internet. You could invest in the stock market. You could buy property. You could do, flip houses. You could do all of these things. everything was, roses. I just finished watching the series on HGTV about this couple from Canada that went down and bought an old resort in the Bahamas and flipped it. Not that flipped it. They refurbished this thing. I mean, just absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Took them a couple of years and a small fortune to get there. But now, is that everybody? No, it's not everybody at all. And many people have tried the HGTV and flopped. Because it comes down to the same thing. It's who's qualified and who's not qualified, and we've talked about that. So, coming back to point here. So as a group member, what's the idea of you being a group member? Well, it's to be as successful as you can so that the group can benefit from your activity as well as you benefit from the group's activity. I mean, if you're out there on yourself, by yourself, and not participating and not creating any results, well, you're really not part of this group, are you? Because that's part of what makes this group work, is the success. Just think about it from the standpoint of some of the products that have not made it in Nikken. Why did they not make it in Nikken? Because not enough people sold that product. And Nikken couldn't keep the inventory to keep it available for the few people that did buy that product. So that was the responsibility of whom? Well, it's two sides. One was the product actually needed and wanted to begin with. And did the distributors understand what to do with it and how to utilize it to make it work for themselves? And so, again, it comes down to, all results come about when you do the right things. And what are the right things? Well, you're hungry. You're hungry and you need, your body's telling you it has to eat. Do you just sit there and say, well, I'm hungry? Or do you get into action and go do something so you feed that thing? You get the message. It's the same thing. So in the sense of, here's what's really important to this message today. You're not alone as a group member. You are alone as an individual. And you can change things by being a part of the group and making things happen. And one of the biggest changes that I saw occur in the last 30 years was when you created a group of people that all became part of the same idea and got on the same page. And that then created the reality that occurred and existed at that time. I remember I was in, I left Nikken in 1991 because there was a class action lawsuit. And at that time, I thought that the company was done for and it was not going to last. And one of my key distributors moved on to a new industry called wireless digital telecommunications. Wireless digital telecommunications. And this company that he went to work with was buying up all the specialized mobile radio towers, which was quite prevalent in the United States of America. And companies like Sprint and AT&T were buying them up like hotcakes, spending millions and millions of dollars. And this company that he went to work with did the same thing, bought a small market, and so on and so forth. And so when Nikken was having a problem, I thought, well, my guy's over there. I can keep the Nikken thing going, and I can make some more money. I'll go over here. Well, what we found when we got there was this wasn't, the company that we were associated with didn't seem as ethical as what they purported to be. So we broke away and formed our own company. And we did that in the fall of, I think Christmas, January of 91, 92. And went on and became very successful and built 2 top 50 markets that then eventually got sold to Sprint, which was, it was the beginning of the cellular industry. And it was really, it's amazing how many times I've been at the right place at the right time and didn't really know I was at the right place till after. This was one of those times because we didn't know that we didn't know today was going to happen back then. We had an idea, and this is when we developed this character called Digital, and we got into the movie business, and all of these kind of wonderful things happened as a result of being an entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur. And sometimes we get that term confused with being a wholesale or sales rep or a true entrepreneur. But anyway, it was a fascinating experience, but it opened up the door to the next chapter of being a part of. So I left the group. Now, as a result of leaving the group Niken, my organization actually went from being a fully qualified platinum down to barely being qualified as a silver. And I think in the fall of 1994, there was actually 2 months I didn't get paid at all. Now, I didn't need it at that time because we were so successful. We'd made millions in the other deal. But at the same time, statistics are statistics. And then I decided that it was time to rejoin the group. And the reason why I decided to do that was the company called me with a lead that they had somebody that reached into Niken that wanted to sell a product. I was a listed distributor. I was in my area. They gave me a call. Well, at first, I said, sure, I'll take the lead. Then I thought to myself, well, I'll just give it to one of my distributors. Well, I then got on the computer, and then, at that time it was a little not as accessible as it is today, and I couldn't find any distributors in Southern California. There was one guy, and he lived in Orange County, and 2 hours away. His name was Joe Maxwell, and he was one of my key. He became a very key person moving forward. But anyway, so I gave him the lead, and then I started to look at the business stop that we were doing because we had the last 2 marketplaces to develop in the country, and so that deal was over. It's time to move on, and we'd made some investments. They didn't turn out so well, so it's time to go back to work. I had to rejoin the group. Well, at first, I thought, okay, I went back 3 years. What did I do? We'd have hotel meetings. We'd have in-home meetings, where mostly hotel meetings. We had a flip chart, and, we'd invite people to come to this meeting and tell them about Niken, the wellness industry, our company, our products, our technology, blah, blah, blah. So I rent a hotel, and I put on this meeting, and I called my upline at that time was Reed Nelson. And Reed said, sure, I'll come down. He was up in Portland, and he flew down, and I think we had 5 people show up at the meeting. Not much agreement with this group was going on. So, okay, we need to do something about that. And I remember one of the guys said, Dave, things have changed since you were here. We don't do, so I had to relearn what to do. I had to relearn what to say. And then, but what I understood was I knew how to do the business. I knew that I had to talk to people, and I had to find out what they needed and wanted. I had to make my presentation and weed through the numbers. That was a given. So if you think this business is anything else, you might as well quit now, because it isn't. This is exactly what we all do. We just talk to people, we go through the numbers, and we help people with what we need to help them with. We find out what they need and want. We present that as a solution, and we get them involved. But the next step is absolutely crucial if you don't do it. You got to help that person become successful. You can't hope that they're just going to do it. You can't hope that they're just going to light the world on fire and sponsor everybody and sell $1 gazillion worth of product. No, you see, here's the advantage of team. A team is stronger than I. See, the advantage of team is now there's 2 of you. It's like clone yourself. Put yourself beside yourself, and there's two of you going out, and now try and get that person that you talk to say no. It doesn't happen because you're just too strong. See, it's you plus you is stronger than the third person usually most of the time. But what's conveyed is conviction, is excitement, is, all this talk about going to events. That's why, because it's a group activity. And when people see activity with a group, they get more excited than by themselves as an individual. And they're stronger with a group. You're walking down the street at night, okay, by yourself. It's dark. There's no moon out, no lights. But you got 25 people behind you as part of your group. How do you feel? You feel like Superman. Anybody's going to come along and knock me off my block? No friggin' way, right? Because you got a team. So then I had this epiphany that, okay, I've got, that there was this idea. I had to have a goal, and I realized that there was no Royal Diamonds in California. California is the 5th largest economy in the world. I mean, you think about the 5th largest economy in the world in California. It's absolutely humongous what's here in California. So I thought, well, man, maybe I could be the first Royal Diamond in California. And I achieved that goal. But what I had to do was create a team. So I went to work. And a couple of things that happened to be important. The first thing was consistency. I had to ding in the purpose and consistency of what I was doing every single week. So we rented the Woodland Hills Marriott Hotel and put on a meeting every week. Doesn't matter who was there, who wasn't. Just consistently. Then, before you knew it, I started to attract attention. And the reason why I attracted attention is beauty's in the eye of the beholder. People came along that liked what they heard, liked what they saw. When they came along and liked what they heard and liked what they saw, then I took the time to help them make it work. What creates reality? Agreement. I mean, you cannot argue with that. That's what creates reality, is agreement. Now, that means disagreement. Well, doesn't create reality, does it? Creates disagreement. So that was the message, was, okay, get out there. Then finally I remember the crescendo of the San Fernando Valley, the Woodland Hills meetings was an expo at the Universal Studios, Hollywood, with over 600 people. It was one of the best expos that we'd ever experienced in Nikan history. It was a mind blower. Now, how did that happen? Because we got all that agreement over a number of years and built up a huge organization. In that time frame, I went from being a barely qualified silver to Royal Diamond. In that time frame, I talked to as many people as I could talk to. When I found somebody that said yes, then I helped them get what they wanted. And that's when I realized what was necessary. And then by 1999, I then looked back and I said, okay, now I've done it. Now it's your turn. I wrote the book. Now, here we are 22 years later, 23 years later. And the same concept still applies. What really needs to happen here is the group needs to get stronger. How does a group get stronger? By you participating and becoming a part of the group. How do you become a part of the group? Producing the products that the group requires. What's a product? Well, a product is an end result. Now, if I looked at a distributor, a new distributor, that would be a product. Now, there are different degrees of that product. So just like there are different degrees of clothing as a product. So you can buy a t-shirt that's really made poorly. It's really cheap. The cotton is terrible. It doesn't last long. The printing fades in the laundry after 2 or 3 washes. That product is not very good. Doesn't last very long. Talking to my daughter, she just had a new water heater put in her house, and she got a great deal with Lowe's and a rebate, and got the credit card to save even more money, and a smart cookie, and it cost her $600, but she got a 12-year warranty with this particular. That's a good product to give that strong of a warranty. We have, this is really fascinating. In my wife's house, it's now our house, she put in these windows by Milgard. They had a lifetime warranty. And the track on the sliders into the atrium started to stick and needed to be replaced. We called, they got the warranty service. Then the technician came out, saw not only was that, but he said, your glass is shot, we have to replace this glass. Now these things were expensive. But again, the product is good, and they're replacing their product because that's how much they feel and value their product is worth. So we're getting all new windows and doors and sliders and rails and so on and so forth. That's a product. So in this business, you have lots of products. You have the customer who utilizes your product, the products that we sell, the water, the sleep, the nutrition, the air, whatever the case may be. And so that product of a customer is a product. But you also have the distributor as a product. Now, from experience, from statistics, I guess you could call it even empirical observation, it's the business builder that makes the business work. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. It's the business builder that generates all of the activities that are required by this company to make it work. It's not the retail customer. Now, the retail customer is a component of that. But if you really look at this, and you might want to get a piece of paper and some stuff and draw this out and really take a look at it so you get a conceptual understanding. But a retail customer is a consumer. They consume. They're busy doing their life. They're busy doing all of the things in life. Now, whereas a distributor, if he's really a distributor with this company, is focused on being a distributor of this company. So what's he doing on a day-to-day basis? He's out there beating the bushes, talking to as many people as possible. Why? Because when he does that, people buy his product or join in the business. His business grows, and he makes more money, and he gets to live a better quality life. Whereas the retail customer, he could be a politician, or he could be a minister, he could be a teacher, he could be an athlete, he could be a student, he could be a restaurant owner. And all he's interested in doing is consuming. He might talk about it. He might share it once in a while. But for the most part, by statistics, by observation, the company grows by word of mouth when the mouth is moving. When the mouth actually says things to other people. Here's the guy over here. Hi, I'm your prospect. And you're here. And you go and, get him. Get him. I mean, that's basically the bottom line. It's a little graphic. Maybe I overdid that a little bit. Maybe not. But not everybody's going to play all the time, every time, when you want them to. It's some cute commercials on TV. One is an insurance, and they're picking Barclay as a teammate, and it's a Citibank commercial for getting a Citibank account. And And the guy says, it's almost easier than this. And the guy's, there's two teams, and finally the girl picks him, the star basketball player is the giant and all these kids. Of course, you're going to, it's kind of like obvious. Anyway, the point is this. When you're a part of the group and you're part of a team, your responsibility changes from being an individual and living by yourself or with yourself, because you now are responsible to the group. What this group requires is that you go out and build it if you're a distributor. That's really what this group requires. I mean, from my perspective, I didn't get to the top by myself. No way. I got there with a team and a huge group. And if I look at all the statistics and I look at all the people that are involved, everybody that made it didn't get there by themselves. And if you think it's what they did, you're on the wrong path. You're really on the wrong path. And unfortunately, people have egos. And unfortunately, there is a lot of that. It's what I did. I made, blah, blah, blah. And yes, there's a certain amount of, yes, they did certain things. But when you look at this business, it's a group, it's a team, it's an organization. I'll give you another example of that. In 2000 and it was the spring of 2004, and Kendall Cho decided to have a special the last week of the month, and it was a 2-for-1 special on our sleep system. Well, I've never seen so many people buy sleep systems in my entire life, and it was my biggest check in my history that I made in that 1 month, because there was just an overwhelming. This is the first time the company ever did this, by the way, this 2-for-1 deal, and the volume was just insane. People were making more money than Carter's Got Pills. It was really a very interesting time. So obviously, getting that size of a check was more than most people make in a couple of years. Was pretty exciting. It was really exciting. But then, if we look at the team and the whole organization, they couldn't deliver the product that was sold. It was too much. And they forced production, which then didn't work, and in the manufacturing side. And then it caused delays. And then it caused people, they wanted their money back. And then it was a huge mistake that you may have heard in my voice last November and December with the double PV concept. We already learned that lesson many, many, many years ago. It's not how you build the business. So the idea of the whole team has to be on the same page at the same time, working together as a group. And remember, you as an individual are a very important piece to that group, because one of you can change the future of Nika by what you produce. Because what you produce. So as an example, we hear about Leo LeMay all the time. Is Leo on? Yeah, Leo's on. Why? Because he's producing. Now, we could go further into that, but for right now, this is all that's required. His production is motivational to many people. So what we need to do is then take heed to that message, because that's exactly what I'm talking about here, is take heed to that message that what if we all did what he did? Just think about this for a minute. Do you think we'd be a little bit bigger? Do you think we'd be a lot bigger? Do you think there'd be more checks out there? More success? Of course. Because that's what it was like in the beginning. One person started it, and then it just caught on fire and grew and duplicated and grew and duplicated, grew and duplicated, etc., etc. So this is what I was going to talk about, but we ended up talking about it, so it was a great topic because it's an important one. But you are very valuable to this group, and what you produce is extremely valuable to this group. I mean, let's look at another example of Savannah DiMuccio, where she creates a video using the water and the testing kit. Well, we did that all day long. I mean, back in the day, I mean, we had pool kits and we do this water, and we actually had a machine that you'd stick in the water and you turn it on and all the particles in the water would stick to that machine. I mean, it was unbelievable how demonstration, right? What she did was she demonstrated in the 21st, whatever, 2022, as a way to attract attention. And as a result of that, it kind of reminded and woke up the group that's existing. Oh yeah, we can use that again. And then everybody wanted that video so they could share it with their people. How valuable is a group member? Really valuable. So how valuable are you? Really valuable. The more you produce, the more results you get, the more valuable you become. So take that as the message for the day, the message for the month, and we'll move forward with the Smart Networker. Right now, I'm going to end off the recording and get into a Q&A, because here's what I need to find out. I want to find out what we want to do next. I have some ideas. We'll banter that around, and we'll move forward, and I'll try and gen you in as much information I know as what's going to happen next. I know a few things, and then we'll go from there. So right now, I'm going to end this recording. Thanks for being on today. Watch, this will be posted in daverolf.com on the Smart Networker section, and we'll see you next time. Talk to you later. Bye.